Welcome to another episode of I So Bloom, place where growth gets real, healing isn't linear, and emotional intelligence takes center stage. My name is Mario Reyes. I'm your host, and I got my brothers with me. Say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Today's a little different. You can see the setup is a little different. We got my brother Jamel Shelton.
What's up, people?
Brother Chris Classic.
What up?
Dr. Curtis Jasper.
In the building. Glad to
And
be here.
there is no special guest. Instead, today's special guest is you. This is our Mother's Day episode. And in true I So Bloom fashion, this is not going to be a safe space. This is going to be a sacred space. I stole that from Dr. Kurt. And that being said, we're going to discuss mother wounds. And we're always going to give love, of course, to the mothers within our lives.
Right.
So, fellas, as we start off every conversation, how are y'all feeling today?
Good.
Yeah,
It's been a good day, man.
I feel great.
Been a
Absolutely.
really good day.
Amen. I feel like I'm very grateful for my mother today. A year and a half ago, she had triple bypass.
Wow.
And I wrote a letter to myself the night before her surgery because I knew if things went left, I would be a different person the day after. So she made 100% full recovery. Give it up for mommy one time. Word up.
All right.
She got opportunity to truly embrace her 71st birthday, to have her 50th wedding anniversary, to watch her grandson graduate high school, go to prom.
Right.
His date got prom queen. She got to see some more accolades, some more milestones.
Yeah,
so I'm
blessings.
very happy with that.
That's awesome.
Let me think. If I wanted to start off, how would y'all describe your relationships with your mothers? Would you say it's a healthy relationship? Would you say it's a happy relationship? Do you guys communicate on which level do you guys communicate?
I think we should first address what a mother wound is, if that's our topic
Yes.
of conversation today, because I think having the understanding of the framework of it will allow people to understand what we're saying, and it may help them have some semblance of the things that they are experiencing as well. So, Dr. Kurt, if you wouldn't mind sharing the technical or clinical definition of what a mother wound is.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So a mother wound is the damage or woundedness or the trauma in some instances that's caused by a child as a result of the mother's emotional unavailability.
Got it.
Right? And a lot of things are impacted because of that.
Okay.
Right? And of course, father wound is slightly different, I'm sure. We'll touch on that. But the mother wound impacts a child, boy or girl, in different ways. And so the woundedness, the scars that's left as a result of those wounds later impacts different people in different ways. But in essence, it's the emotional unavailability. And oftentimes that's paired up with abuse and trauma.
Thank you for that definition. And to Chris's point, I definitely want the definition helps to provide context for the intent. It's Mother's Day. We all love the mothers. But we talk oftentimes about men being able to be viewed as whole human beings, but yet we canonize mothers and women as if they don't have traumas as well. So that's where we want to approach this from. So thank you for providing that context for us. Well, now the question.
Sure. So for me, my mom had me at 17. So you don't think about it growing up, right? It's not until later that you're like, wait a minute, I have a son that's 17. What would have been like for him to have a child, or be pregnant in 11th grade, right? The lack of maturity, the lack of just, realizing you're now altering your life, permanently, and now bringing in another person into the world before you're set up.
Your life's not yours anymore.
Correct. So that was a situation with me. My mom has always been very loving. Didn't work out with my dad. Literally, they were 17 and 18 years old. She got remarried. Well, they attempted to get married for the sake of trying to do it, but didn't work out. So got remarried when I was 5. And we grew up, well, I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household. So it was a very structured, faith-based. Husband was the head of the household, and so my relationship with my mom, I say, um, we had our own coded relationship, and then I felt like it was not cohesive as far as family. It felt like it was me and mom. We had our bond, right, of the times when she was single, and we lived on Terrace Ave in Hempstead, right? And then she got married. We moved to a nicer part of Hempstead in a home. So it would seem like things were elevated and progressing, but our rapport definitely suffered in a sense that I feel like I didn't have an opportunity to be truly authentic, and I didn't feel like mom was like safe space. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are certain fathers who are super disciplinarian, and so I feel like in my house I'm the disciplinarian, right? So if Zuri's doing something and she's being a little sassy with her mom, the threat is I'm about to call your daddy, right? And so everything straightens up. But then when I do come home, when I find out the thing, I might have a word of discipline, but then I'm also loving. And so it's not as segmented. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for me, I grew up in a very segmented situation where it was the angst of me and my stepdad. It was I wish I could be a little more close and emotional and, with mom, but she also was submitting due to a religious arrangement that was different than just a natural flow.
That she married into.
Yeah, so you don't feel like it was like earned submission per se.
No. I just feel like it wasn't natural. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom has a strong personality, but I feel like she muted some of the things that she wanted to say to my stepdad, or out of a respect for the perceived divine arrangement of, well, this is how things are supposed to be. So I would say the advocating sometimes that I wish that she would have done for me wasn't done or said out of, let me not be disrespectful to the husband, the head of the house. And if he feels that this is the need of discipline for Chris, then she just accepted it. So I think that it created a wound for me in the sense that I sought validation, approval, advocacy from women.
That's how it shows.
As I got older. Wow. So I'm noticing now, like, my wife is very outspoken. My wife is, you would consider her a tough cookie. But that's because I'm looking for someone who's bold based on the mother wound. I'm looking for somebody that, remember
that will
when
be fierce for you, lioness.
Remember when Brother Charles was here and he was talking about Kira, and he was just like, she burned his whole shit down. I know my wife would do that for me. Mm-hmm. And so I think that informed, the mother wound informed my choice of, let me get someone who's a little tough. Let me get someone who's going to advocate for me. Let me get someone who's going to be a little rebellious, So I think that's the healing part. I think suffering the wound was teenage years and early 20s, kind of seeking validation from various women in the physical form, because it was the quickest way I could get it. Being an over pleaser. You know what I mean? So
you did say the healing part. How does one heal? Like how did you go about it?
Time.
But were there conversations with your mother, Was it
some?
All right.
But it was also conversations that informed me about certain things that she was going through and certain steps that she was taking to better herself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, understanding how she was healing from her own traumas. And sometimes in our families, we don't discuss it with our children because we don't think it's children's business. And so as a teenager, you're going about creating your opinions about your parents, not knowing what they're going through, right? So I think as I got older, having tough conversations, learning more about my mom, maybe certain things her sisters may share safely that weren't like divulging secrets, but just saying, you do know your mom did this, right? And it was just like, she did. And it allowed me to forgive her. It allowed me to at least have a context for maybe the blame that I placed. And now I was able to see it as not so intentional. I was able to see it as a byproduct of her life, byproduct of things that were happening in her home growing up that I had no idea about.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, I was affected.
Right.
Which is why we have to address mother wounds on Mother's Day, because we tend to typically just celebrate moms for the act of child birth.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that all moms are great moms or maternal. And sometimes they hurt us, and we don't talk about it enough in our community. And so it creates a little angst because a lot of men, we carry these mother wounds, and we don't realize that we are offloading it in passive-aggressive, microaggressive ways towards women because of the shit we didn't address with mom dudes.
Instead of addressing it and calling the thing a thing, yeah.
No, that
there are a lot of men who hate women. They love women. They're attracted to women, but they kind of on the low and subconscious hate women because they still got the mama wound.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Wow.
Question?
Yeah, so I have a wonderful relationship with my mom. Very similar to you, Chris. My mom had me when she was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so as an adult, I realized that she was a teenager. She didn't know really much about herself.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout my healing journey, I have found myself asking more questions internally about some of the things that happened to me when I was a child.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, I've had difficulties addressing or asking my mom these questions for fear that it might bring my mom back to a certain era in her life where she was not treated fairly by my stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of in an imbalance where it's like, there's certain information, there's certain things I need to know about what happened, right? Just to make myself whole and complete for my own healing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I rip off this Band-Aid by addressing this to my mom, and my mom's in a beautiful space and we have a beautiful relationship, but if I start kind of poking at that Band-Aid a little bit, is that gonna bring my mom to a space where it brings back certain memories that I remember growing up inside this childhood? And I don't know what to do with that, right? To be perfectly honest, I mean, this might be a conversation I had with you, Kurt, because I love my mom and I don't want to bring her back to that space because she survived a whole lot. But at the same time, I feel that I am missing certain information that I can pass on to my kids, that can complete me and that can complete me as I go through my healing journey. Mm-hmm. And it has been the more I heal, the more I go to therapy, the more questions I have, and the more I'm like, damn, I should bring this up. And there's been a few times that I've tried to bring it up, and my mom has been very quick to kind of change the subject. And I believe in those spaces, I resort back to the young version of Jamel, the child in the situation, like, oh, it doesn't feel like my mom want to talk about it. So let me ride this wave and talk about whatever she wants to talk about.
Let's play nice.
Let's play nice instead of being more direct and getting the questions answered. And it's not, to be clear, it's not for me to push blame. It's just for closure for me, right?
Yeah.
Again, 17 years old, I have an abundance amount of grace from my mom, but I still need these certain questions answered.
Same.
And at 46 years old, I'm still dealing with this. Like as I'm talking to you all right now, I can feel this emotion.
You're dealing with the fear of not being courageous enough to ask your mother the tough questions.
Exactly.
I could imagine that showing up in other areas of your life as well.
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, so let's push through with this. No perfect time, no perfect relationship, right? I get it, right? I get it. One of the things, and so there's several ways to do that. One is to just ask questions about mom that you just simply want to know. Sometimes we limit it, like, I needed these specific questions. Well, become okay with asking her questions in general, right? I remember doing that with my mom. How'd you grow up? I noticed this. What about auntie this? Just having. And then I kind of weaved a few of the tough ones in the conversation. I made it a regular conversation to get to know my mother. And then I peppered in the tough ones.
Instead of starting with...
Instead of like, let me interview you, have a seat, you on the hot seat. Nah, that ain't happening, right? For one. The other part is, it appears that you overly consumed with how it would impact her at the expense of how it's impacting you still 40 or however many years longer. So I offer, like, we talking a black mama? One of the things I learned is, look, it don't get no tougher than that, right? It don't get no, I would be a fool to think my mother was fragile, anything I could bring her, and she proved otherwise.
Especially when she actually went through the lived experience. That's a great point, Doctor.
She was with my dad, right? My mother, born and raised in Chicago, she raised 3 kids. My mother, I know my mother had to do some things to feed us that only she know. She a black woman. She had to do some things to get us through. Y'all mamas included, whether you know that or not. So when we say, oh, I want to tiptoe around the black woman, that's how we all here. It's the epitome of civilization. The black woman is how every one of us is here.
Right.
She ain't from our rib, we from her womb.
Period.
We're afraid, like, it don't get, like, what we tiptoeing around it for?
That's a bar.
What we tiptoeing it around for? And so I encourage you, like, yeah, go get your life by being courageous. You ain't seeking closure, you seeking opening.
You're a therapist. What do you think that is about me? And you've known me a little while, right? What do you think that is about me that would probably that's preventing me from having this, these type of these hard conversations? And be clear that they're probably, as I'm hearing you talk, that might just be hard inside of my head, right? This might be just something that I'm carrying. I asked my mom; she might be more than willing to open up.
Sure. It's all the premise of working on the self-worth. It stems from low self-worth. I'm not good enough. I don't want people to really be mad. I'm really trying to take people down. I see it as being arrogant, personally. As if you think that you could say something that can set somebody back, as if people ain't whole and healed in their own right. Just do you. And if it impacts them, trust enough in the love that they'll be like, hey, something you asked me really set me back. I just want to make sure that we clear with this boundary. Like, give me some time the next time you come there with me. That's the love and respect, showing up for yourself. And then take what you get, right? Be unattached to the outcome. Be courageous enough to get your life. You owe it to yourself.
It sounds like you was placing somebody else's boundary on yourself instead of giving them the grace to establish the boundary for them.
Yeah. And I also know, I'm a people pleaser. I've been this way all my life. I grew up inside of a home that sometimes was very hostile, and I feel I was looked at as the person to kind of keep balance and to keep things at a minimum in terms of
You good?
Yeah, man. It's safety. It's safety. Yeah, you chose that to survive. We celebrating that. You chose that to survive. You didn't choose that to die. You chose that to survive. We all did our way. Whether we was in the streets womanizer or trying to keep the peace at the house. Not one of us is not a people pleaser in our own right because of some level of woundedness. You chose that to survive. We all did. It worked how it worked. You know how much peace you call? It just stopped. And when it stopped, and then we're like, oh shit, we got to get that out of the way. Right? We all chose what we did. It's emotional survival. Yeah, we good with you crying, man, but we celebrating tears.
Yeah.
Because you know how much courage it takes to be able to take one for the team,
Yeah.
I'm just hopeful and praying and begging you that you no longer have to.
Yeah.
You no longer have to. That ain't even your role.
Y'all
We
got me
good.
back.
No, it's good, man.
Yeah.
Well, luckily you're already a part of the fraternity, brother, with feelings. So.
And we ain't got no more stickers, huh? We ain't got no more stickers.
You don't need them anymore. You're already in.
You know what's crazy? Me and my dad have a different type of relationship now than when I was a teenager, right? And you know, my dad now in his 60s, I think is feeling a little bit of his mortality, right? Because he's seeing his friends, and you know, he's also been a Harley rider for a long ass time. So he's lost a lot of friends all his life. Some have been from being on motorcycles when it was Suzuki's and, you know, everything else. And now he's losing some friends because of poor diet, health, and all of that. So he's in this really like taking inventory of everything. And so, you know, we were already in a cool space, but I've been able to have real like great deep conversations with my dad where I'm able to be a bit more specific about certain things that I held on to for a long time from my teenage years. And it wasn't until I got that specific that almost removed certain guilt that he had, that he was carrying, that I was like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that at all.
Oh, wow.
So what I'm saying that to say, or the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes, you know, and I'm talking to myself as I'm saying this, there are certain hard conversations I have not had with my mom. And the reason why I have not had them is because she's still a Jehovah's Witness. So there are certain topics of conversation that I feel like my mom won't watch a rated R movie. So how could I have a conversation with her about my life? Because there's some rated R shit. You know what I'm saying? But she's stronger than I know. Mom Dukes is stronger than you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, you know, and again, having conversations with my aunts that are like, yo, you know your mom, right? And it's like, nah, I didn't know. So, you know, they can handle it. And if your mom was physically sick, but didn't want to go to the doctor for fear of, you know, you would take her.
Indeed.
Almost forcibly.
Indeed.
Right? Because you want her to be better.
That's good.
You got to take it.
That's good.
Feel you.
Yeah.
Go there.
Yeah. That's good, Chris.
Go there.
I feel you. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man.
I could feel the passion in this room right now. You know, even discussing mother wounds peels back the onions, right? And it opens up and just, I didn't know how I was going to, honestly, I didn't know how I was going to approach this conversation today. And just hearing what you said about being a people pleaser, it gave me this memory. Whenever me and my sister would come home on leave from the military.
We got to do Betty Jasper, right? I got a mama too.
Yeah. I was going to get to you. I was just going to, it just directly correlated.
Y'all done went to the daddies. I got a mama.
You know,
this bitch. Rest her soul.
I'm sorry.
Not you. Right?
Well, when we would come home, my mother would play the greater fool. What do I mean by that? Like, she would allow, like, we would get there late always. It would be after midnight. And we would stay up in the kitchen and crack jokes. But she would purposely say silly shit so we could crack the joke on her. And then me and my sister would add on to the joke. And, you know, I always thought that was courageous of her because she just really wanted to see her children laugh and smile. And then I wonder if she did that, if that was a defense mechanism for her. And I also realized that there's times in which I play the greater fool now and self-deprecate and allow people to crack the joke on me, even though I could control the situation at whim, but I don't, because that's, or I would say that's the way I control the situation, because I just want everybody to have a good time. And I did, like what you just said, like how it shows up in your life, really, it just like hit me with a hammer, like, damn, maybe Is that healthy? Is that begging in some capacity for acceptance and to be a part of something? I don't know. That hit me when you said what you said. Can we get to Ms. Betty Jasper? Please?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Yeah, I had a solid relationship with my mother, right? My mother she passed in 2010.
Condolences.
Yeah, and so growing up, my mother, we were solid. I moved her down here in 05 and I buried her here in 2010. Like my mother's literally buried here and we ain't from here. But I was grateful that she chose to spend her last few years down here with me. But growing up, you know, my mother was solid. My siblings claimed that I was her favorite. When I got here, my mother was a full grown ass woman, like played no games. Like I was clear who was in charge. But the validation was there. The emotional space was there. My mother gave me a lot of warnings that I didn't heed to. And she was wise beyond what I even realized at the time. But I didn't have to save my mother. I didn't have to be a certain way. My mother was clear about who she was. Like you don't have to. No, I'm good. I'm a grown ass woman. Like just do what I say. Stay out of trouble and go to school. You know, that type of stuff.
You felt that at an early age.
Early age. Like that's all I knew, right? But my mother also warned. Like my mother used to punish me, punish me, and then me and her was good. Like I'd get a whooping, and then she'd be like, "All right, so you want something to eat? Like you still gotta do the garbage." Like it wasn't.
Mother's the only person that could whoop you, create a scar, and then just be like,
"Yeah, but
you like that, baby? You okay, baby?"
But I got that I was clear, like that I dropped the ball, something major. Like she was, doing corrective more than punitive damage, right? And so my brother says, like, you let him do anything. I did well in school, so I didn't have a school thing. I ran the streets. I had the girls. If anything, my mother over-validated me, right? She was like, you're good. Who you are is enough. And the world gonna come for you. Like, the world ain't your damn mama. They ain't gonna be listening to your dreams and that. You're a black man, and the world is prepared to dim your light. Just promise me you won't let them do it.
Wow.
And so, my mother was ahead of her time. She took me to counseling at 16, 17.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And back then it was counseling, right? And the difference was we didn't necessarily have a treatment plan where they called therapy, right? We had counseling where we bringing in everybody. Who going first? And so I was first. And then come to find out she had some unresolved issues with my dad. I reminded her and triggered her and re-traumatized that. We worked through it, brought dad in, brought my siblings in, we was good to go. And so I was very familiar with therapy as a concept on how it heals the family. My mother she was forward thinking. She was forward thinking. I appreciated that about her. And so I had a solid relationship. What really broke it down for me is when I became an adult and I was able to see my mother as an adult woman who happened to be my mother. Right. And I was asking questions like, Ma, she was the oldest at home. She had a twin brother. She was molested, things like that. And but she also used to remind us coming up, like, let's be clear, like, I'm from Chicago. I'm born in the Ida B. Well projects. Like, y'all don't bring shit home that I don't know about. Like, my mother ain't from no small town. Right. My mother's from the projects in Chicago. Anything we brought home, pistols, any good grade. My mother was
seen it.
She was calm. She was like, all right, that's what we're doing. And so I appreciated that. But she also reminded me, like, yeah, the world, they not gonna really, really feel your big personality. She had to learn that. She had to learn to not take me personal. She was like, oh, he just like this. Oh, he just say this. They ain't got shit to do with me. This is just him.
Yeah.
I can put it on his dad. I can put it on disrespectful. I can put it on being curfew. But let me just see how he roll. And you know how she did that? She started asking me questions. So I noticed you didn't come in for curfew. Was there an issue? Like, what can we do? She turned every statement into a question.
I like that.
I was like, well, I gotta say so? She was like, might as well, because if you can't stay here, somebody gonna hurt, so let's talk. And that's where I got the ability to have tough conversations.
That's dope.
Wow.
That's dope.
She created a healer.
Correct.
And this, it's crazy just talking about how mother wounds could create monsters to the point of looking for validation and going into the world with hatred in your heart, being attracted to women and having hatred in your heart for women, or you could be somebody that looks to heal the brothers that disseminate.
And that's probably why. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you good. You good.
I see what you're gonna say, though.
I just what you said about the over validation. Yo, dude, that is the epitome of Puerto Rican mom. Like, there was a core 4 in the Bronx that raised us with about 3 honorable mentions that were aunts but not blood. And the way they poured in, and I'm a boy heavy family, so we got about 16 just boys before we had a girl at the top and a girl at the bottom. And when I tell you, every time they see you, oh, Papi, you go out there, you don't got it. These girls ain't good enough for you, and this, that, the third. So they would over-validate the hypersexuality of us. They would put that out there. And then my mother was almost a counterbalance for me, in which she expected me to be a gentleman, but also had that you can have whatever you want. Like, the world is yours kind of cake. And my mother's little. She's 5'2". And she was little. I'm 6'5", so you can imagine those conversations. Like, well, how? You know what I mean? And she's courageous though. Like, she's the nicest person I know, but also the strongest. Losing her mother at a young age, and to your point, there's a lot of conversations I want to have with her, but I don't think she's comfortable having them with me as a boy and a baby boy. There was a relationship with her and my late sister that I can never duplicate. And I feel like if I was to try to have certain conversations with her, it would be almost prying, or it would feel disingenuous to her, because that's not our relationship. I kind of just go with what works in that regard.
Accept it.
Yeah.
This is what
like, this is our relationship.
Yeah.
And
how does that make you feel, though?
There's a gap. There is a gap. I know it. To Dr. Kurt, all his siblings say he was the favorite. I used to think I was the favorite because I got the attention as the youngest. Even now, I know my sisters. Not on some, like, it was a competition, but she was my favorite. You know what I'm saying? So I know she had to be their favorite. And her ability to lead, I think even in what I do in Atlanta and for my family, I've tried to duplicate, and I'm not her. I've had to accept that.
But where the idea of comparing yourself, because I know you bring that up quite often.
Yeah.
Like, where'd that stem from?
Just big family, everybody's competitive. All of us are. We all want to be the favorite nephew. We all want to be the favorite child. We all want to be...
No, I meant between you and your sister.
Me and my sister? Oh, that was just... It started off as some playful shit we would just say to each other. Like, I'm the favorite, ha, ha, ha. And honestly, like, a mother wound of mine is when my sister passed, the day, like, it was cinematic. It was literally a room full of family members from my grandmother down. My cousin just sang Silent Night, and within 20 minutes of that song, she passes away. And before the doctor came in and confirmed it, my mother knew, and she let out a bellow. And she said that she didn't want to be alive anymore. And to hear that, as if I don't need her.
Wow.
Fuck me up.
Yeah. Get it?
Fuck me up bad. But as a man, I was able to contextualize. Like, not to say I just lost a sister, but compared to a parent, it's a different relationship.
Yeah.
So I knew not to take it personally, logically.
Yeah, logically.
But emotionally, I couldn't help but take it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say that the comparison at that, or where it stems from, probably it's more prevalent now. Because it's somewhere I feel like if she could have at that moment, she would have went with her. And as a boy, I would have had to figure it out.
Yeah, what would I
But
like?
you understand now that that's just part of the grief, right?
Of course. Again, like me, I could understand something logically. I'm pragmatic as fuck. But that little 14-year-old boy that I'm always talking about was hurt by that one. That one hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And I would say, look at the results, right? Even the thing that has caused some deeper grief than the grief of your sister's loss, right? In that moment, hearing those words from mom in that moment probably is a small seed or catalyst into the work that you are doing right now in your sister's honor.
Yeah.
Because it might be subconsciously, I want to replace some of that joy that my sister brought mom. So let me make her proud too, and make my sister proud by doing these things and being this person.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it again,
I can almost guarantee you're 100% right.
So understanding the mother wound, which is why it's important for us to have this conversation,
It
is because it's showing up even in the good things that we do. And the mother wound doesn't necessarily have to be, and please correct me if I'm wrong, an injury that we stick with. And not every mother wound is the same. Some, it may be a paper cut, and others it's a gash that has, it creates a limp.
And some scars become beauty marks.
So here's a unique thing that we experience. So most of us get, even though it's not comfortable, grief around losing someone. What we're not familiar with is grief around grieving someone who's still living. And so you had to grieve a mother who is not the same because she lost her firstborn.
She's not the same version of the
She's
mom
not
that
the
you
same
knew
version that you knew.
the day before.
Period.
Yeah.
That's right.
So grieving living people, in my opinion, is 15, 20 times more emotionally impactful.
Is that because you're still physically seeing the person in real time?
A number of things. That's a major part of it. But I mean, let's face it. Just as a people, a community, like we know when this body is in transition, we do whatever, and we kind of go through that grief. But we don't get how grief feels emotionally. We haven't been taught that, right? The absence, the acute emotions that come as a result of a loss. Right, we just attribute it to the deceased, right? But most of us are grieving a lot of living things, old relationships, like mostly old relationships, friends, family, parents, right? You grieve them. When my mother became ill, I started grieving her. Like, oh shit, she don't even look the same. Oh, the grief starts now, and she ain't even transitioned yet. Right. She ain't the same mama I grew up with. She an older woman who happened to be my mother, and I need to grieve that part of her. But the mama wound gonna come in, right? This Betty Jasper and my mama. This is what I got to work with. So the grieving,
Betty Jasper and your mom,
and my mother,
which is separated, right?
Correct.
Giving her a human feel, not just your mom.
Because you said this before. Like, there's a difference between a title and a what was it? What would you say before?
The label.
A label.
That we're right.
Yeah.
So the title gives us entitlement. Like all of us think that we're entitled to our parents' whole life, just like our kids do. Right. Our father, when I talk with brothers, like my father wasn't there. You don't get his whole life. You don't get your mama's whole life. She gave it to you, but you ain't entitled to it because your mama a whole woman. Your mama a whole. You with a woman now. Your mama a whole woman, bruh. You hijacked her whole life through entitlement.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you're grieving. You should be grieving the hijack. Yeah, took this whole woman. You know what I mean? Like saying, like she ain't got other children. She ain't got relationships with her parents. She don't have a spouse. She don't got a high school love, right?
And a career and everything that she wanted.
That she all that health challenges.
I think about that often with my mom at being 17 years old. Like, damn, what would she be doing if she didn't have? I was not on purpose, right? Let's be clear.
Yeah.
And to that point of the hijacking part, like, right, what did I prevent my mom from doing because I was born? I don't take no fault in it, but it's still a thought. Like, damn, if I wasn't here, what would my mom be doing? Or what would she have done?
But you use the word prevent, which I think is very peculiar, right? You allowed her to become a better version as being the mama. That's what you provided for her. She wasn't a mama until you got here, right? You got older siblings?
No, I'm the oldest.
Yeah, you gifted her with motherhood. You, her, and your daddy and y'all God, right? You still at the, what did I prevent her from doing? Nah, I'm my mama's firstborn. Lean into that. That's different than, did she have dreams? Yeah. And guess what? You part of it, a major part of it.
Great point, Dr. Kurt.
Sit on that for a second.
Yeah.
Receive that. Like, I know analytical Jamel wanted to ask a question in response, but you provided the it wasn't a dream deferred. It was a dream realized because of you.
I received that. But at the tender age of 17, right? The way I'm processing it, that might be different if she was 25 or 30 and established in the world. But at 17, like, she was a baby.
How old are you when you had your first child?
18.
Exactly. That's just what y'all do, and it's good. Now we could, which checklist we looking at?
That
right?
part.
Because that's all it is.
That's what I was thinking.
You was 18, mama. Which checklist you choosing to look at?
Which is the story I'm telling myself.
What? You know the work, Jamel.
Yeah.
We ain't making points, we making differences.
And so so now a question that I have to sit with, I want to stay within subject. But the question I'm asking myself right now internally, why do I divert to looking at things from a negative point of view, right? You talk about what list, right? And I have the full ability to choose which list, positive or negative list. Why am I diverting to the lack of, or the negative list for myself? And again, it's more for me to remind myself that when I'm driving home, I need to have this conversation with myself.
No, let's talk about it if you're okay with it. Yeah. You know, for one general reason, because you practiced it. What you do most is what you do best, right? You can just practice doing it another way starting right now, right? You rehearsed it. You've been shooting 5,000 jump shots on the same three-point line your whole life. Just go to the other side of the court and start shooting. That's all. You have the right, the power and authority to ask the same why questions. Why did God make me so wonderful and amazing and good looking and healthy? Bless me with a family, starting a movement, sitting right here. You have that right now.
With a man bun.
Period. And anybody who got problems with it being in your presence, listen to them, you already know them ain't your people. Because your people is going to require you to say more of that since you asking why questions.
Yeah.
Why am I so amazing? Because you are. Because you are.
I can't believe we didn't have a box of clinics for this.
Yeah, I definitely dropped the ball on
Kinda
that.
pissed.
Look, y'all know our producer quit on
I got
it, right?
so many boxes.
Wait a minute. Our
Chanel
producer
accidentally ordered, like, she thought she was ordering a box. She ordered a
Look,
case. So we
yeah.
got like 36.
Look.
And the fact that one wasn't here right now, I don't know why.
Do you know Phil Jackson, the great,
So now he's gonna get some cheers.
the great Tamisha Harris has
Even
found
got,
off the
that's
set.
our mother wound from her. You know what I mean?
How the mama
did
gonna
not
lead a set?
think
We need
about
her.
These
She's like,
sensitive
y'all have
ass
it.
men.
She is almost in the
is gonna
parking
be
lot.
crying in the
She in the
river.
parking lot. She back there folding up our wardrobe. She like, I ain't taking this shit from these guys.
So I got one more question to go around because I noticed that there's a whole different amount of routes to get to in these conversations. Wow, this is. If you could mother yourself now, or remother your inner child, would you follow her blueprint? And if not, what would you change?
I believe I would follow her blueprint to an extent. I know my mother loved me, evident. But I say this often. While I know the love and the action was there, the word love, right, was not used that much inside of my home. Again, the action was there, never missed a meal, never missed a bill. But the word love, right? And I think I double down on, we say love all the time inside my family. I'm a person that loves to hear. I believe that boosts up my confidence when I hear I love you, or, these words of affirmation. And I think that's what I might have did differently. I might have doubled down with the verbal affirmations for myself, knowing the type of person I am and the type of love, the type of things I need to feel loved. I think that would be one thing I would change. But that's one of those things. My mom had, she went through it, and she was doing the best. Being mindful that she was doing the best that she could with the circumstances that she had, right? My mom's the youngest of 9. And so just for that, right, that paints a picture. My stepfather was not the kindest man. He had his own story. And it was a conflict inside the home, which I played mediator a lot of times. And so I think now as an adult, it's me, my 2 siblings who are younger than me. And she's, she was just, I would think, based off the circumstances I saw, a lot of times she was just trying to survive, literally, right? And so when I think about the totality of my upbringing inside that home, things like affirmation, that's probably the last, I would think that's probably the last thing. She was literally just trying to survive. I remember this moment, man. She walked into my room, bro. And it was a moment after they had my mom was in an abusive relationship. And it was one moment, man, I remember her walking inside my room, and it's crazy because I used to do things like pretend I didn't hear what was going on, right? Mm-hmm. And I would be like under the covers, like just pretending like I didn't hear what was going on in the next room. And I remember this one time she came in my room. That was fake sleep. And I just remember the energy. And she was like, I love you. And I might have been like 11, 12 years old. But I remember that, like, even to this moment, like, I remember it being like so tight. And as an adult now, like, I think like, damn, like, was she hugging me that tight? And like, and she kept saying, I love you. Like, I love you, Jamel. I love you, Jamel. I love you, Jamel. And as an adult now, I think like, was she saying that because she was in fear of her life in that moment, right? Where she wanted to just let me know how much she loved me, because something may happen, right? But it's all those little. I mean, I don't want to do that.
No, it's good. I mean, one of the things that I know is the distinction around what the story does, right?
Yeah.
Like you know that work. We've done that work together. And we all have them, right? You just get to pick a better version that actually serves you. My mother wasn't perfect, right? My mother did, she did 2 things well with the same man, with my father. She had me, she chose my dad to have me with, and she chose to raise us without him in the same home, right? So, and we struggled financially, right? But she wasn't, I would have turned out totally different had my dad been in the home, right? Because the general definition of father wound is usually due to the absence of the father. The woundedness is his absence, but it's the present parent that usually does the most damage, and that's typically the mother, right? Not weighing good versus bad, just I'm talking about woundedness. And I just remember associating my dad with like, man, that's why these bills is behind, because we got one check. We got 20 bills and one check, right? And so I remember a short period of time, my parents tried to get back together. This had to be 80 or so. So I'm like 9. And this is literally the only time. So my father may move back, and my mother was threatened to move out of town. So my father moved. They tried to work it out. And me and my brother and sister, and we heard my mother crying one night, right? One morning. So we checked each other, like, is mom in there crying? Right? And we had already been with mom. So we grabbed a broom, a bat, a butcher knife, all 3 of us. Like, we was those Jaspers, because we had already been with mom. We was like, nah, dude, I ain't about to do that. We kicked open the door. He was sitting on the bed. Mom was crying. We was like, what's up? Mom was like, it's fine. It's good. He was like, y'all go to bed. Me, Chris, and Eric was like, nah, bruh, that's not happening on our watch. And we was like, you got to raise up. My mother was like, go to bed. We ain't moved. Mm-hmm. Me, Chris, and Eric was standing right there until he left. We was like, nah, bro, you been gone too long. Mm-hmm. We not moving. Wow. Mm-hmm. Period. She may be your wife legally, but she our mama, and we been with her. And being able to stand up, like, even against my old father. Like, bro, you're not coming in here putting your hand on. And of course, I had my siblings, and we had weapons, right? But that was the benefit. My father lived across town in upper middle class. Mom raised us in the hood, so she taught us how to get down, right? My father was raised middle class. My mother born in the projects. She taught us how to survive. When it was his turn, it was his turn. Period. And so when I think about his absence, yeah, but I didn't have the abuse in that.
Yeah.
Right. And so mom, and I want to say this one thing before I turn it back over. I know my mother loved me. She said it, right? But here's what was the difference, Favor. My mother actually liked me, and she told me. She was like, I like y'all, just as people. Yeah. We used to play, like it's different than you having, and this is where the woundedness comes, right? Because the mother love you. Y'all do what I say, go to bed, eat, here's the food, that.
But that's a responsibility.
That is.
Right.
Nah, we in mom's bed. Yeah. Man, we getting our feet done. We getting facials. Mm-hmm. I got to the point we asked Mom, like, Mom, why you stick around with us? Mm-hmm. Like, why don't you go out and get it? We good. Like, why don't you go get a dude or something? Like, you spent all your time with us. Mom was like, don't be crazy now. We like, what you mean? She said, y'all know every day I get up and get dressed and go to work. I don't be going to work, right? I got off days. Like, my mother was that shit. Like, y'all don't run nothing. Like, I can do it. So my point is, your mama get it done. Mm-hmm. Stop holding space for a woman that don't need space hold. Mm-hmm. Hell for it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Chris?
I forgot the question.
Would you, if you could remother your inner child, would you follow the blueprint? And if not, what would you adjust?
Got you. So I don't know what it's like to be a mother. I don't.
Facts.
I don't. I respect the mothers of my children so much, and the connection from the womb that they have, that I can, with respect, say I don't know what it's like to be a mother. What I can say, in hindsight, what I would have liked from my mother would have been, like Jamel, those words of affirmation, some sense of seeing me for who I am, my individuality, as opposed to my function in the family structure based on religion.
Wow.
So my wife and I joke now, like, imagine if we had us, as far as how we encourage our children to dream, to see the world, to experience things, to be an individual. Yes. My daughter is 6 now. There's certain things that, baby, what are you doing?
I thought that, whoa, buddy.
What are you doing? And she's like, well, Daddy, you said this, and that's not fair because I want to do this. The fact that she's advocating for herself,
absolutely.
I say, you know what, you're right. It's okay, go ahead.
You've created a level of safety inside of your home.
Because I'm looking at her like a 6-year-old now who's really 26. Because I'm realizing I'm like parenting in reverse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What type of 26-year-old daughter do I want to have? Do I want to contribute to the world? One who was empowered, right? So I feel like for me, if I would have had those types of things to my creativity, my athleticism to be funded, not financially, but just nurtured.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. To be nurtured. To, oh, you do art? You're good at drawing? You're good at poetry? Well, let me incentivize that. Let me encourage that. Let's lean into who you are.
Yeah.
I think there is the layer of being a Jehovah's Witness and some of the social restrictions that came into that played a huge part. I feel like my mom and my stepdad were being, in their minds, obedient Jehovah's Witnesses. And so what that meant for me is, you're good at, I'm 11 years old. I can throw a baseball 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That should be nurtured. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
Probably not. But I could also
damn, I
write.
thought we were cool enough.
But I could also write very well. I would give talks, is what they're called in Jehovah's Witness organization. I was giving talks at 5. I was baptized at 10, which is not common in that organization. So those things were encouraged and nurtured. My maturity as a servant of God and the, performative aspects of being in that particular religious organization, but not my individuality.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right. And so I think that they were still struggling with that themselves.
Yeah.
So,
for themselves?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? In hindsight, I'm able to learn about those family generational traumas that they experienced too, that I had no knowledge of until I was about 30 years old. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of it was, they didn't. Then I'm like, oh, well, that's why they did. Right. And so it doesn't deny the wound that is created, but it definitely provides context to how the wound got there.
Yeah. That's good.
And once you understand that, I think that becomes the beginning of the healing process, is the understanding, the acknowledgement, and then the actions that are taken to grow from it, to bloom from it.
Sure.
Dr. Kurt, a question for you, for our viewers. If there is a young man that's watching this episode and he has mother wounds that he is having difficulties trying to get through, what can you offer that particular brother that might be able to give him just some ammunition to take this on?
Yeah, at first I'd ask him to seek support before he approaches his mom, right? Whether that's through therapy or counseling or mentoring or something, like to really, really give himself a space to not do a dry run, but kind of share, similar to what we're doing here, just to get a sacred space where he could share what it is that he's thinking and how he's feeling long before he gets to the point of approaching mom, right? And there's several ways to approach mom, but I would highly recommend talking it through with someone. And I work with men all the time with mother wounds. That was unbeknownst to them before this whole thing became a thing, right? Because we give mom a pass.
Yeah.
Right? We give mom a pass, on the work. And so now they're like, oh, that's in my way. Yeah, it's it. So my encouragement is, especially as adult men, so assuming adult and anyone, is to approach mom as her entire humanity, just a full-grown woman who happened to be your mom. And start off with some peripheral conversations. How you come up, how you meet dad, who's your real first love, where you sports, like get to know you, man. I almost can bet that you got a good 200 to 300 hours of questions just to get to know your mom long before you sprinkle in the issues you have with her.
Right.
Wow.
You don't know as well as you think. You only know her from being your mother. I need you to get to know your mother as a full human being starting right now.
That's so
and the
good.
best way to do that is to ask questions. You want to know what you really, really was missing when it comes to your mother's wounds? It's the very thing you're going to give to your mother. You want to show connection on how you really feel and like somebody? Ask them questions and then listen to them. Now, I'm a lot of things, But blame it on the fact that my mother asked me questions and she fucking listened to me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's the highest form of showing not only you love somebody, but I like you.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you. I like you. Keep going.
Right.
Man, bro, can you imagine how many hours I've been in my mother's ear? All right, ma, this is the last. She fall asleep. Keep going. I'm like, oh, I'm a somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worth being listened to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm important.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so give what you don't. You want to get what you need, give what you know you don't have. Start with your mother. Just ask her some questions. You'd be surprised.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yes, brother.
And on that note right there, I don't think of a better way to land it. One, I could think of one actually. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy
to
Mother's
all of
Day.
you beautiful
Yes.
mothers.
Happy Mother's Day.
To my mother, to the children of my mother, and I said to the children of my mother, to the mother of my children, as well as the beautiful woman that mothers the entire house that I live in, sometimes including me. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, baby.
Keep blooming, ladies.
Yep.
Peace.